ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Dear friends, in the last class we have completed all the mantras of Ishavasya Upanishad. All the 18 mantras of Ishavasya Upanishad have been completed, and there are a few concluding lines of Sri Shankaracharya. Regarding the mantra, up to the mantra portion, the commentary has been over. We have covered, and then the last lines. In fact, this is one subject which is a very favorite subject for Shankaracharya. What is that? That is the Jnana Karma Samuchayavada Khandana, which means that denouncing the idea of this combination of the Jnana path and Karma path. There must have been a lot of wrangling in those days. In Shankaracharya's days, there must have been a lot of controversy, lot of fight and a lot of wrangling on this subject, that Jnana and Karma have to be combined. What is wrong with what is wrong? You also study Upanishads, you also do Karma, you also do Yajna. So something like that. There must have been a great argument on that. So that is why Shankaracharya wants to make it very, very clear that this Jnana path, okay, you keep reading the Upanishads, to that extent it is okay. But once you say that you are a Jnani, then Karma does not apply. Because these two are so totally contradictory. So that is what he has been saying. Even in the right from the beginning, he has been saying the same. At the beginning of the, say, Upanishad, he was saying, in the very second mantra, Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatakam samaha, he was saying, Jnana karmanor virodham parvatavad akampyam. So he was saying that the contradiction between the Jnana path and the Karma path, it is something, it is so, say, insurmountable. Parvatavad akampyam. Parvata is a mountain. It is something like a mountain which is standing in between these two. These two things cannot meet. So Jnana, once you say that a person is a Jnani, a person, if you say that he is a student, he is studying Upanishads, he is doing Shravanam, Mananam and whatnot, it is okay. And so long during that time, if he is doing some karma, means the karma, the rituals which have been say prescribed in the first portion of the Veda. Veda, we know that there is a Purvardha and Uttarardha. This Purvardha deals with the karma, the Uttarardha, that is the Upanishad portion, deals with the Brahma Jnana. So the Purvardha prescribes certain karmas. So he let him do karmas and also let him be a good student of Upanishads and whatnot. But once you say that he is a Jnani, then this karma combination cannot work. Because a Jnani, he has gone above these things. Whereas this karma is actually of binding in nature. Karma means I seek a favor, I worship so and so Indra, I worship Varuna, I worship Yajna, Agni, I worship for something else, some of my personal, for some personal benefit of mine. So whereas in Jnana there is no question of any personal benefit. So he has say given up his identity. His identity has itself merged in the identity of that Brahman. He no longer feels that he is confined to this body, mind, intellect, this confinement of this upadhi, this body which is the body, mind, intellect, which is called the upadhi, or this limiting adjunct. He does not feel that he is confined to this. He is above these things. So this combination is something which is just unthinkable from Shankara's point of view, and that is what is the Advaita point of view. So that is what he is again saying, and he is saying this again basically to elaborate the type of interpretation he has given to the 11th mantra, that is avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyam cha yastad veda upayagum saha. There are two words which have been used, vidya and avidya. There are the standard meaning for vidya, or the primary or standard meaning, or in most of the texts in the Advaita Siddhanta, Advaita doctrine, the standard meaning is that vidya means Brahma Vidya. Then avidya means that ajnana, ignorance, the path of karma, the path of ritual, so, and also the path of upasana. So that is what is the meaning of all these levels, that is covered under avidya, ignorance. So that is these are the two primary meanings for these words. For vidya, the primary meaning is it is brahmajnana. For avidya, the primary meaning is it is karma. So here in this 11th mantra, the words have been used, vidyam cha avidyam cha yastad veda ubhayigutsaha. So he can't give that main interpretation. So he again takes help of some other Upanishads where the words have been used in a different sense. For example, vidyam cha, say Vidyaya Devalokaha, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and also Ishavasya, they are from the same branch we saw. So Vidyaya Devalokaha, it says, Vidyaya Devalokaha means Vidya, here the word Vidya is used in the sense of Upasana. And avidya is used in the sense of karma. The secondary meaning for vidya is upasana. The primary meaning of vidya is brahma vidya. The secondary meaning is upasana. The primary meaning of avidya is karma. The second avidya karma. The secondary meaning is vidyam cha avidyam cha. The secondary meaning is also karma. Of course, avidya it does not matter much. Avidya, vidyam cha avidyam cha. So that is the meaning there. So the same thing Shankaracharya is going to explain here. Let us read these last lines. Avidyaya mrutyam tirtva vidyaya amrutamashnute. This is the same 11th mantra. Vinashena mrutyam tirtva asambhutya amrutamashnute. This is the 14th mantra. Iti shrutva kechit samshayam kurvanti ataha tan nirakaranartham samkshepato vicharanam karishyamaha. So he says, by seeing these two statements, avidyaya mrutyam tirtva, by this avidya you are transcending mrityu, you are going beyond mrityu, and by vidya you are getting amrutatvam. Amrutatvam is immortality. So that is a relative immortality and a relative amrutatvam, a relative mrityu. That is what has been told here. Then vinashena mrutyum tirtva asambhutya amrutamashnute. So this is again we saw Vyakrutopasana and Avyakrutopasana. We have seen in the from 12th mantra to 14th mantra. We have seen Vyakruta, that is manifest. Avyakruta, it is something unmanifest. Unmanifest is Prakriti, that Ajnana, that Moola Prakriti, Ajnanam. So that is Maya, otherwise called Maya. So that is Maya in its unmanifested state. So that is what is called Asambhuti. Maya in its manifested state is this Virat and then various god forms and whatnot. By doing upasana of all these god forms, you will get some powers, some siddhi, animadi siddhi he was saying. Some god appears and then he will give you some boon, he will give you some power maybe to fly in air, anima, garima, mahima, all these siddhis, they are of the same type. Then this upasana of Maya itself, Maya is primary and these gods etc. they are all manifestations in this Maya. So if you leave these gods and then go to that Maya itself directly, then the result is that merger with Maya. It is called Prakriti Laya. Merger with Maya. It is of a greater benefit. This worshipping gods is, will give you some limited results. And at the same time, it does not remove you, it does not deliver you from this samsara. This transmigration continues. Whereas this Prakriti Laya is a place where this transmigration stops. So you will be there in that merging with that Prakriti. So that is what is shown there. So then after seeing these two statements, Kechit samshayam kurvanti. Some people they express a doubt. Samshayam is doubt. Samshayam kurvanti, they express a doubt. So ataha tan nirakaranartham. In order to remove that doubt, samkshepataha vicharanam karishyamaha. So let us discuss this in brief. Samkshepataha means in brief. Vicharanam karishyamaha. Let us discuss, let us do some vicharana. Let us do some analysis of this. Vicharana actually means analysis of this. Then tatra तत्र तावत् किं निमित्तः संशयः इत्युच्यते विद्याशब्देन मुख्या परमात्मविद्यैव कस्मात् न गृह्यते अमृतत्वञ्च. So the Purvapakshi is putting a question. तत्र तावत् किं निमित्तः संशयः, what for is this doubt? So that is being explained, that is being told. Vidyashabdena mukhya paramatma vidya eva kasmat na gruhyate. By the word vidya, why don't you take the primary meaning? Vidyashabdena, by that word vidya, mukhya paramatma vidya eva kasmat na gruhyate. Mukhya, that is the primary meaning. The primary, why don't you take it in the primary sense? Mukhya paramatma vidya, that is paramatma vidya is Brahma vidya. Why don't you take the Brahma vidya itself? Kasmat na gruhyate. Amrutatvancha. And also the word Amrutatvam is there in the second Asambhutya Amrutamashnute. And Amrutatvam means that immortality. This Amrutatvam is not merely immortality. Real Brahma vidya, what Brahma vidya gives is not just stopping from this thing and immortality. That is the Brahmatma Bhava. He is in that state of Brahman. There is no question of any sort of transmigration again. So why don't you take that primary sense of immortality and not this relative immortality? So that is what is the question. Then the reply, Siddhanti says, Nanu Uktayaha Paramatma Vidyayaha Karmanasya Virodhat Samuchaya Anupapattihi. So he makes a simple statement. Paramatma Vidyayaha Karmanasya Virodhat. Paramatma Vidya, that is Brahma Vidya, and Karma, these two are contradictory. That is what he is going to give some reasons. We'll see the reasons. So Paramatma Vidya and Karma, these two things are contradictory. So Samuchayasya Anupapattihi. Anupapatti means the impossibility, the improbability and also impossibility of this Samuchaya. Samuchaya is combination. Okay, next. Satyam. Again Purvapakshi says. Purvapakshi is again saying. Purvapakshi is the opponent. Satyam. Virodhastu navagamyate. Virodha avirodhayoho Shastra pramanakatvat Yatha avidyanushtanam vidyopasanancha Shastra pramanakam Tatha tad virodha avirodhavapi. So he says, this Purvapakshi is again adamant person. He says, Virodha, okay, Virodhastu navagamyate. Parantu Virodha avirodhayoho dvayorapi Shastra pramanakatvat. Okay, Virodha, you say Virodha is not there. But then, who are you and I, who are we to decide? Who are we to decide whether there is a Virodha or Avirodha? Because there is a Shastra Pramana. Shastram is Pramana. Shastram is, Shastram is the same Shastram is saying here one thing. The same Shastram is saying another thing there. So I will accept this thing. So that is what he says. So Virodhastu na avagamyate. Okay, from your point of view, there is no, say, Virodha. It does not, there may not be any Virodha. But Virodha avirodhayoho Shastra pramanakatvat. This Virodha and also Avirodha. Virodha means contradiction. Avirodha means lack of contradiction or agreement. This contradiction or agreement is something which you and I should not decide. It is something which Shastra has to decide. Shastra pramanakatvat. These two things have to be decided not by you and me but by Shastra. Then, Yatha avidyanushtanam vidyopasanam cha Shastra pramanakam. Just as you say that avidyanushtanam, avidya, that is this anushtanam of avidya, that is karma, and then vidya upasanam. Vidya upasanam, vidya is vidya in the sense of upasana. Just as these two things are Shastra pramanakam, tatha tad virodha avirodhavapi. Just as the one portion of the Veda, in one portion it says Vidya and Avidya have to be combined. Another portion they say Vidya and Avidya cannot be combined. So I will accept the other thing. Tatha tad virodha avirodhavapi. Similarly, this contradiction and also consent, agreement, contradiction and also agreement, they are also there in the Shastra only. Contradiction and agreement are also there in the Shastra only. Just as the same say Vidya and Avidya are said to be contradictory in one place. Vidya and Avidya are said to be combined, are told to be combined in another place. So that is the meaning here. Yathacha na himsyat sarva bhutani iti shastrad avagatam पुनः शास्त्रेणैव बाध्यते अध्वरे पशुं हिंस्यात् इति. So he is giving an example. He is giving an example of Pashu Himsa. Pashu Himsa is, in olden days, we know that during that when the say Mimamsakas were in their peak of power. So the Mimamsakas, they were happy, say slaughtering animals. Slaughtering means giving bali of these animals for various gods. And maybe because of the influence of Buddhism, and maybe some sort of, because these Mimamsakas also, they went beyond the limit. The Mimamsaka, anything going to the extremes will have some sort of backlash. So the Mimamsakas, probably they were going to the extreme. They were actually, the Surapanam also is there in that Yagam. Surapanam is, they have to prepare, get some Somalata, they have to grind that Somalata. That Somalata means it is a particular type of, a sort of leaf from the from the forest. Right now, in spite of various researches and whatnot, people could not establish what that Somalata is. Maybe it must have been there in olden days, and now probably nobody is able to identify what that Somalata is. So they used to get some lata, some leaves, and then they used to grind, and then they used to make that Somarasam. And then they also used to take some Somarasam. And then along with the Somarasam, there was also this slaughter of this, Pashu Bali was there. And maybe these people, they went beyond the limit. And of course, there are some portions of the text which say that there used to be slaughter. There are also some portions of this text which say that slaughter was there, but then they were not actually eating, they were only smelling, and then they were leaving it like that. So that is what, in fact, Bhagavata in one portion says. Bhagavata in one portion says that slaughter does not mean that they were eating all that flesh, they were only smelling it and then they were leaving it. They were just doing that Havan in the Agni or something like that. But anyway, whatever it is, there was some little bit of Pashubali there. And it seems Shankaracharya, he was also, he in fact strongly opposed it. Just like the Buddha and others Buddhists, they opposed, Shankaracharya also opposed. In fact, if you go to Kanchi, they tell you a story. I think I told once long ago in Gita class. In Kanchi, if you go, there is a Kamakshi temple. In that Kamakshi temple, the pujaris say that when Shankaracharya visited, then before Shankaracharya visited, the practice of that goddess was that every night she used to go around, and then she used to move around the town, and then she used to eat animals, and then she used to kill animals, so something like that. Then Shankaracharya, when he went, when this lady went out, when this goddess went out, he went inside the temple, locked it from inside, and then put some Sri Chakram. That Sri Chakram is that, that yantra. That yantra he put, and then he was doing upasana there. And then when the goddess wanted to return early in the morning, she could not enter. Because this gentleman was there, and then this Sri Chakra Puja, and then she just could not enter. So she begged him to allow her to come in. Then it seems he said, no, if you stop this Jantubali from today, then only I will allow you inside. You stop this Jantubali, that is, stop killing all these animals. So then it seems she consented, and then she allowed her inside. So this is what is the story told by the pujaris, the panditjis there. So which symbolically means that prior to Shankaracharya, there must have been some this Jantu Bali, offering of these Jantus, offering of these animals to deities. But maybe from Shankaracharya's time, Shankaracharya vehemently opposed it, and then from that time, we only break some, coconut, and then we also break this Gummadikaya, that pumpkin, and you somehow break a pumpkin or break a coconut or do something like that. So, but one portion of he is quoting that thing here. Yatha nahim syat sarva bhutani iti shastrat avagatam. Shastrat avagatam. That is, it is known from the Shastra. Shastrat avagatam means it is known from the Shastras. What? Nahim syat sarva bhutani. You should not kill any animals. You should not torture any. Himsa not only means killing, himsa also means torturing. You should not kill or torture any animals. So that is what is the same thing. Punaha Shastrenaiva Vadhyate. That is, this statement again is contradicted by another statement of the Shastra itself. That is, Adhvare Pashum Himsyat. Adhvaram. Adhvara means Yajna. Adhvara is Yajna. You, during Yajna, you can kill an animal. You are not supposed to kill an animal just like that. You can kill an animal for the sake of Yajna. For the sake of Yajna, you can kill an animal. Maybe we have to again take it in the sense of that fourth chapter of Gita. Gita, third chapter and fourth chapter, they give an elaborate meaning of Yajna. Yajna is something not for oneself alone. Yajna is for general public good. So maybe in that sense also we may have to take it. But then there was some permission that one could kill an animal during Yajna. Adhvare Pashum Himsyat iti. So the one statement is contradicted by another statement. Evam, likewise, evam, let us read. Evam, Vidya Vidyayorapi syat.
Vidya Vidyayorapi syat.
Vidya Karmanoscha Samuchchayaha.
Vidya Karmanoscha Samuchchayaha.
So evam, that is likewise. Likewise, Vidya Vidyayorapi syat. Why don't you do some sort of samuchchaya? Vidya Karmana, Vidya Vidyayoscha Samuchchayaha. Why can't it be there? No, it's not like that. This the contradiction, the continuation is evam Vidya Vidyayorapi syat means likewise there is some statement about Vidya in one place, Vidya and Avidya in one place, and likewise some other statement about Vidya and Avidya in some other place. So for that reason, why don't you have this samuchaya? Vidya karmanoscha samuchayaha, that is also possible. Vidya karmana, of the combination of this vidya and karma is also possible as per the authority of another portion of the text. So that is it. Then again Siddhanti says, Na Duramete Viparite Vishuchi Avidya Yacha Vidya Iti Shrutehe. So he is quoting this Kathopanishad. This is the line from Kathopanishad. Duram ete viparite vishuchi avidya yacha vidya. So there in the Kathopanishad, these words are used in the primary sense. Avidya to mean karma and then vidya to mean Brahma Vidya. So that Kathopanishad says, Ete duram ete viparite. Viparita means totally opposite. They are in the totally opposite directions. Duram is quite far away, quite far off and totally contradictory. Ete Vishuchi. What is Vishuchi? Pointing in different directions. Vishuchi, V plus Suchi. Like Diksuchi. Diksuchi is something which shows the dik. Kasuchi, one who looks at the sky. There is a word called Vayyakarana Kasuchi. If you ask any question in grammar, he will look at the sky. Kasuchi, Kam Suchayati iti Kasuchi. So like that, Diksuchi, it shows the dik direction. Vishuchi, different directions. These two are in two different directions. What? This Vidya and Avidya, they are directed in two different directions. They are looking in two different directions. Vidya cha ya Avidya iti Shrutehe. Then Purvapakshi again says, Vidyam cha iti Vachanat Avirodha iti chet Na Hetu Swarupa Phala Virodhat. Okay. Purvapakshi says, Vidyam cha iti Vachanat Avirodha iti chet. You could, okay, Kathopanishad might have told that, but what about this Vidyam cha, yes tadvedo bhayagam saha, this Upanishad says you combine. Vidyam cha, this particular Upanishad says you combine. So why don't you take the primary sense here also? You have taken the primary sense in Kathopanishad. Why don't you take the primary sense here also? So that is what he is asking. Vidyam cha iti vachanat avirodha. Avirodha means there is no contradiction. Iti chet na. So Shankaracharya is saying, Na Hetu Swarupa Phala Virodhat. There are three things which we have to see here. When you make a comparison between karma and jnana, you have to see three things. That is Hetu. Hetu means the motive. Then Swarupa. Swarupa is the nature of it. What is the nature of karma and what is the nature of jnana? First is hetu, that is what is the motive for a karma, what is the motive for a person to get engaged in karma. Then what is the motive for a person to get engaged in moksha or jnana path. So that is first is hetu. Then swarupa, swarupa is nature. What is this nature? What is the nature of karma and what is the nature of moksha? Then phala, phala is the result. What is the result or the fruit of this karma and what is the result or fruit of this jnana path or jnanam, let us say. So, hetu, swarupa, phala, virodhat. There is a contradiction in all the three. So, what is this? See, let us see. What is the hetu? Karma, if you see, for karma, or anything wrong with the internet? It's okay. So, for karma, what is the hetu or motive? For doing any karma, what is the motive? Personal benefit. You do some yajna. You are pleasing the Indra, God Indra or God Varuna or God Agni or some other god, or you are doing some ritual in order to please some other god. What for? You want some result. You go to Lord Venkateshwara, put something in the hundi. What for? You want some benefit. So isn't it? So the motive or hetu for karma is what? Desire. Desire. Kama. So kama is the motive for karma. If you include upasana also in this karma category, that also can be included. Upasana also can be included in this karma. Then what is the motive for this upasana? Devaloka prapti. Why do you do some other Saraswati upasana or some other upasana? So here in this Upanishad we have all the while seen the samuchaya between karma and upasana. So both are one and the same. Both are one and the same means one is slightly better than the other. One is slightly better, but they cannot be compared with jnana. So that we have very clearly seen. So this upasana also, what is the motive? It is only devaloka prapti. But in the case of jnanam, what is the motive? Mumukshutvam. That is desire for liberation, to get free from all these bondages. Karma is leading you to bondage. Karma is leading you are asking for some better result. You are asking for some devaloka. You are asking for all the pleasures of this heaven. So after the pleasures of the heaven are over, you again come back. So there is a samsaranam. Samsaranam is the transmigration is there. And devaloka also, sometimes you may get jnanam and sometimes you may not get jnanam, and again you get back even in the path of upasana. But in the case of say mumukshutvam, in the case of jnanam, the motive is mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam is desire for moksha. Desire for moksha is that thing there. So hetu is different in these cases. Then swarupa. Swarupa is nature. What is the nature of karma? The nature of karma is, suppose you want to do Chandi Yagam today. So some Purohit comes and tells you, no sir, Chandi Yagam, instead of doing Chandi Yagam, you do this, Rudra Yagam or something like that. Or he will say, you do this Sudarshana Yagam, it will give you better result. Or somebody will come and say, no, you please go to Shirdi Sai Baba, he is faster. Shirdi Sai Baba will give you faster results. So like that, so there is an option for you. You want to go to Delhi. You can go from Hyderabad, you can go straight to Delhi. From Hyderabad you go to Chennai and then go to Delhi. From Hyderabad you go to Bangalore and go to Delhi. You go to Bombay and go to Delhi. There are 100 paths. Or you may go, you may not go at all. So in karma there is what they call kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum shakyate. That is, you can do, you need not do, you can do it in so many different ways. You can do it in so many different ways. That is what it is in your control. That is something which is in your control. The nature of this thing is, it is in your control. You want to spend 100 rupees and do some small puja, you do. You can spend say 1 lakh rupees and then do some fairly big yajna, you can do. You spend say 1 million rupees and then do much bigger yajna, you can do. So it is all, the option is yours. But in the case of jnana, then what is it? In the case of jnana, or suppose you are saying Delhi example you take. Delhi you can go in 100 ways. But then the nature of Delhi does not change. The nature of Delhi, the nature of that thing does not change. Or maybe take another smaller example, say 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. It does not change at all. But in whatever manner you do, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So that does not change. Jnanam is something which is independent. So similarly, karma you can follow this book, you can follow that book, you can follow any other book. You go to Vishnu Purana, it says Vishnu is the highest God. You go to Shiva Purana, it says Shiva is the highest God. You go to some other religion, he will say, no, my book is the ultimate and mine is ultimate. You go to another man, he says, no, mine is ultimate, through my God only you have to get salvation. So these are various options. Whereas in the question of jnana, when you are analyzing your own self, when you want to analyze your own self and then who am I, and then this is pure analysis, basically starting with what we know about our own body-mind complex, what we know about our indriyas, our prana and our mind and the limitations of the mind, and then what we know about the external universe, and then correlating what is there in the body with what is there in the universe, that is our indriyas dependent on the five elements outside. So like that, this correlation between the microcosm and also the macrocosm, and also seeing what is behind that macrocosm. And really, if you see that this absolute at an absolute level, can there be some God who will be something like a super cop? If he is just a super cop, then he is also a delimited person. So this is a question of analysis of what is the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality, ultimately you know that you are the Shuddha Chaitanya. You are nothing different from that supreme reality. So that is what is a logical process of understanding oneself, a logical process of breaking down one's barriers, mental blockades. So that is the nature of what is this jnana. So in karma, you have an option. In jnanam it does not change. The nature of jnanam is something which is permanent. Satyam, that is something which is eternal, which has nothing, there cannot be any change in that Satyam. And also in the Satyam, Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Jnanam is something which is of the nature of consciousness. Satyam is of the nature of existence. Satyam means not truth in the normal sense of what you and I say. Sat means exist. So the existence, consciousness and Anantam, the eternity, infinitude. So this is something which cannot change. So that is what, there are two technical words for this. So regarding the Swarupa, karma is Purusha Tantram, they say. Purusha Tantram is, it is under the control of the human being, Purusha Tantra. Jnanam is Vastu Tantram. Vastu Tantram is, it is not under your control. It is independent. The Vastu Tantram, it depends on the nature of the Vastu itself. Here the Vastu is Brahma. Vastu means that object, that thing is Brahma itself. That Brahma, it is something that's nature is something, there is no question of change in that. So the one is Purusha Tantra, the other is Vastu Tantra. It cannot be changed. Then Phalam. What is the Phalam of this Hetu Swarupa Phala Virodhat? Phalam. What is the Phalam in the case of a karma? Phalam is something which is temporary, which is really ephemeral, let us say. You go to Swarga and then you stay for some time and then you come back. Then or you get some punyam and then that punyam is exhausted. Or you get some other material benefit and then that material benefit is exhausted. And then again this transmigration continues. So this phalam is something which is anitya. And in the case of moksha, what is the phalam? Moksha means there is no question of all your barriers are broken and then you are one with that absolute and then you are identifying yourself with that pure existence and consciousness. So you become part of that thing. Not exactly part means we should not understand that you are becoming a limb of that. It is not as though you are becoming a small limb, because that is something which is niravayavi, that is partless. So you are merging with that. So you are losing your identity in that eternal Brahman. So that is the phalam there. The phalam. So hetu is different, swarupa is different, phalam is different. Is this clear? Hetu swarupa phala virodhat. It's clear, I suppose. So that is what Siddhanti says. Next, Purvapaksha again says, Vidya Virodha Virodhayoho Vikalpa Sambhavat Samuchaya Vidhanat Avirodhayeva Iti Chet Na. So this Purvapaksha is saying, no, for this Vidya and Avidya, and for this Virodha and Avirodha. Virodha is contradiction, Avirodha is congruence or agreement. For this Vidya and Avidya, for agreement or non-agreement. So Vikalpa Asambhavat. So there cannot be any question of alternatives. There cannot be any question of alternatives. So then samuchaya vidhanat. Now, the alternatives means you can't interpret in two different ways. Vikalpa asambhavat, that is you cannot interpret in two different ways. Samuchaya vidhanat, then samuchaya also has been mentioned here. So for that reason, avirodha eva, so there is no contradiction for samuchaya. So that man is doggedly pursuing that you can't give two different interpretations to these two words, vidya and avidya. Here it is very clearly said there is a samuchaya, you please follow samuchaya. So then again Siddhanti says, na. Saha sambhava anupapatte. Saha sambhava anupapatte means they cannot coexist. Saha sambhava. Saha means together. Sambhava means existing. Sambhava anupapatte. Anupapatte is impossibility. These two things they cannot exist in one person at the same time. Then this man says, Purvapakshi again says, Kramena ekashraye syatam. Let us read.
Kramena ekashraye syatam.
Vidya vidye iti chet.
Vidya vidye iti chet.
Na. So Purvapakshi again, he wants to do some small trick. So when Siddhanti says these two things cannot coexist in one man at the same time, then he says, why can't it be there gradually? And in that gradually, he does not include avidya first and then vidya next. If it is avidya first and vidya next, it is agreeable to us. A man has been an ajnani till yesterday, today he is a jnani, it is okay. But then he wants to put vidya first, he wants to put jnanam first and then avidya next. So, kramena ekashraye syatam. So, let us agree that they can coexist in one person. Vidya avidya iti chet. Vidya first and then avidya. So, he wants to slightly use some trickish argument. Vidya first and then avidya next. That is, so a person is a jnani and then he is also doing karma. In our case, in Advaita doctrine, a person can be in avidya for some time or a long time, any length of time. A person can be doing karma, a person can be doing upasana. But once he understands and once he comes to the level of vidya, there is no question of say karma again. There is no question of karma means he may be doing karma for loka sangraha like we saw in Gita. But then there is no binding on him to do any karma. There is no binding, and then even if he does karma, the karma phala will not be there for him. Even if he does karma, that karma phala means that alaukika karma phala. Alaukika karma phala, that is going to heaven or hell or something like that, that will not be there. So that is what we have seen. But then this man is trying to say, let him be a jnani first and then let him also do some karma. Then Shankaracharya says, na vidyotpattau avidyayaha what is this? Avidyaya yastatvat avidyayaha astatvat. So both they have combined avidyaya yastatvat. Astatvat. Astatvat means that is astamitaha. Astamitaha means that has died down. You know, Surya Astamayam. Astamayam is ending, that is disappearing. Astamaya. Udaya and Astamaya we know. So that word it is here. Avidyaya astatvat means that is it has ended. Avidya has ended. Vidyotpattau avidyaya yastatvat.
Vidyotpattau
avidyaya yastatvat. Correct.
It's not there.
I see. It's not there?
Not.
Okay. Avidyaya yastatvat tadashraye avidya anupapatte nahi agnihi ushnaha prakashasya iti vijnanotpattau yasminnashraye tadutpannam tasminnevashraye shitaha agnihi aprakashaha aprakasho va इत्यविद्यायाः उत्पत्तिः नापि संशयः अज्ञानं वा. Okay, let us stop here. So he says, Shankaracharya says, vidyotpattau avidyayaः astatvat. So the moment you say that a man is a jnani, vidyotpattau, that is once that vidya has dawned on him, utpatti is appearing, utpatti is coming into existence. That is, once that wisdom has dawned on him, once he has become a realized person, vidyotpattau, once that vidya has dawned on him, avidyayaha astatvat, the avidya is gone. Avidya is gone. Tad ashraye avidya anupapatte. Tad ashraye. Once that man is an enlightened person, there is no question of his doing avidya. There is no question of doing any karma. Avidyayaha anupapatti. Anupapatti means that impossibility. So there is no question that ashraya, once you say, he gives an example of fire. Nahi agnihi ushnaha prakashashcheti vijnanotpattau. Suppose I see an object, and in this object, this is fire, agnihi, ushnaha. Ushnaha means it is quite hot. Then prakashascha, it is also shining. It is also shining. So there are three qualities here. Agni, it is basically agni. Ushnaha, prakashascha. It is hot, and also there are two qualities rather. This Agni, which is very hot, and at the same time it is shining, it is emitting light. So this is the say knowledge which I have in this particular Ashraya. Ashraya means some particular locus. Ashraya means actually a locus, some sort of substratum, let us say. In this locus, I have a knowledge that this is hot, and at the same time it is shining. And in the same Ashraya, I cannot have a knowledge that it is cool, it is dark. I cannot have a knowledge like that. Nahi agnihi ushnaha prakashashcheti vijnanotpattau yasmin ashraye tad utpannam. That is, in whatever object that particular knowledge arises, in the same Ashraya, tasminnev ashraye, in the same Ashraya, shitaha agnihi aprakashaha aprakashova. This Agni is rather cold, Shitaha, and then Aprakashaha. Aprakashaha means it is dark, there is no Prakasha, there is no light there. Aprakashova iti avidyayaha utpattihi napi samshayaha na ajnanam va. So there is no question of any doubt, there is no question of that sort of contradictory jnanam which is coming up. So a person who is settled in that Brahmajnana, a person who is settled in that Brahmajnana, who sees the futility of all these karmas, a person who is actually seeing the futility of the karma, a person who is linked up with something which is much higher, why will he bother for these petty things? So that is the basic thing which you have to understand. A person who is linked up with a higher reality, a person who is realizing that he is the Brahman himself, why will he bother about some small petty loka? Why will he bother about some Swarga loka? Why will he bother about some other loka? So that is what we have to see. In the same Ashraya, one Ashraya we know that it is Agni, Ushna, Prakasha. In the same Ashraya, that is in the same locus, you can't have a knowledge that this is dull, this is Aprakasha, this is cool. So you cannot have this knowledge. You follow this?
Yes.
So one who is linked up with a higher say truth, he cannot be wasting his time following some smaller things, some smaller rituals. That's the meaning here. Avidyayaha utpattihi napi samshayaha ajnanam va. We stopped here. Napi samshayaha ajnanam va. Okay, next. Yasmin sarvani bhutani
यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतानि
आत्मैव भूत विजानतः
आत्मैव भूत विजानतः
तत्र कोमोहः कश्योकः
तत्र कोमोहः कश्योकः
एकत्वम् अनुपश्यतः.
एकत्वम् अनुपश्यतः.
So this is the same seventh mantra which we read in great detail. That is, a person in whom, say, he is seeing the whole universe in himself. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah. Vijanatah is in the case of a person who is a jnani. Vijanatah means in the case of a person who is a jnani. Vijanan, vijanatah. Vijanatah is Shashti Ekvachanam. In that person where sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut. So he sees himself in all beings. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma, that's what Gita says. So he sees himself in all beings. That is, he is in that state of Supreme Brahman, where he is not finding any distinction. There is no question of distinction. When he is seeing that ekatvam anupashyatah, for one who is seeing unity in all things, where is the question of shoka or moha? The shoka or moha, they arise only in the case of a delimited person, only in the case of a person who feels that he is a small man. I want this. So when I don't get this, I develop some shoka. Then I also develop some delusion, moha. This shoka, moha, this greed produces shoka. Then again, whether you get it or not, that fascination, that infatuation for a particular object is moha. So these two things are only possible in the case of a person who is defining himself as a limited entity. But one who has broken the definition and gone away, gone beyond, when he sees unity in all things, then he will not be bound, he will not be having any shoka and moha. So he is in that state. So that is what he is saying. Ekatvam anupashyata iti shoka mohat yasambhava shrutehe.
Shoka mohat asambhava shrutehe.
Shoka mohat yasambhava. Shoka mohadi asambhava becomes shoka mohad yasambhava shrutehe. Because this particular shruti is saying this shoka and moha are impossible. Asambhava. Asambhava means they don't arise. They don't arise in such a man who is seeing unity in all things. Then avidya sambhavat tad upadanasya karmanopi anupapattim avochama. Avidya sambhavat tad upadanasya karmanah. So when avidya itself is not there, avidya is ignorance, ajnana. Here he is referring in the primary sense, not in the secondary sense. Avidya is ignorance, ajnana. In that ajnana, when that ajnana itself is not there, ajnana is the upadanam for karma. Upadanam is the raw material. Upadanam, there is a word called upadana karanam and nimitta karanam, you know. Upadana karanam is the material cause, nimitta karanam is that instrumental cause. So that avidya sambhava, because the avidya is not there, tad upadanasya karmana. Tad upadanasya karmana means for the karma which is having avidya as upadanam. Avidya is the upadanam, that is the raw material for karma. It is only when you are having avidya that you engage yourself in action. So which means avidya is the base material. Avidya is the raw material, avidya is the basis because of which avidya is there, because of that you are engaged in some action. So that is the meaning. Avidya becomes the raw material means because avidya is there, you are engaged in some action. Is this line clear? Yeah, so avidya sambhava tad upadanasya karmanah means karma's upadana or ashraya is avidya. So for that karmanah api anupapattim avochama. So we have also told that karma also is impossible in the case of a jnani, because avidya is not there. It is only when avidya is there he will engage himself in an action. When avidya is not there, he will not engage himself in any action. That is it. Amrutam ashnute ityapi.
Amrutam ashnute ityapi.
Not ityapi. Iti apekshikam amrutam.
Iti apekshikam amrutam.
Vidya shabdena.
Vidya shabdena.
Today I have not put on the mic. Is it okay?
It's coming.
Oh, we have not put on the mic.
It's coming.
Anyway, I'll put on like this. Anyway, I'll put on now. So it must have been some light sound. Okay, anyway. Vidya Shabdena Paramatma Vidya Grahane Hiranmayena Ityadina Dwaramargadi Yachanam Anupapannam Syat. Okay, Amrutam Ashnute iti apekshikam amrutam. So apekshikam means relative. Apeksha is requiring something. Apeksha means requiring something. Apekshikam is it is relative. Amrutam Ashnute, Vidyaya Amrutam Ashnute. So we have seen that Avidyaya Mrutyum Tirtva, Vidyaya Amrutam Ashnute. So when he says this Amrutam, it is not referring to that absolute bliss due to Brahmagyana, but it is referring to a relative type of Amrutam, a relative type of happiness, which a person, Vidya, what is that Vidya? Devaloka Prapti. Vidya, the primary meaning is Brahma Vidya. The secondary meaning is Upasana. Upasana means the worshipping a particular god form. And worshipping a god form leads you, that is that Devayana path. So in that Devayana path, the result is that a person goes to a particular Devaloka. And in that Devaloka, there is a possibility of his getting some Brahma Jnanam. There is also a possibility of coming back. So it is his luck there. So, Vidya Shabdena, Paramatma Vidya, so Amrutam Ashnute, that the thing has to be taken as relative Amrutatvam. Because it is not a permanent thing, there is no guarantee there, it is only a relative thing. Then Vidya Shabdena Paramatma Vidya Grahane, if you want to take this Paramatma Vidya by use of the word Vidya, then Hiranmayena Ityadina Dwaramargadi Yachanam Anupapannam Syat. So in that line we have seen that 16th mantra, Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Apihitam Mukham Tattvam Pushannapavrunu. So you remember that mantra or not? Hiranmayena Patrena, by that golden lid, there is such an attractive golden lid which is covering the truth. So, O Pushan, O sun god, you please remove that thing, you please uncover, so that Satya Dharmaya Drushaya, I who am the stickler to Satya, I who am the stickler to Dharma, I who am on the Satya path and also on the Dharma path, I want to see your real nature. So, in fact, that particular mantra has been interpreted in two ways. That is, some people have said it is only a relative type of thing, relative type of say upasana. And then some people also have said, because of the next mantra where he says, Tatte Rupam Kalyanatamam, Yatte Rupam Kalyanatamam, Tatte Pashyami, Yosa Vasau Purusha Sohamasmi. Whatever is there in that, whatever Purusha is there, whatever he is, that I am. Yosa Vasau Purusha means whatever he is, that I am. So that Aditya Mandala, he is doing that Brahma Bhavana. So he is visualizing Brahma in that Aditya Mandala. So he says that Aditya is Brahma and I am also Brahma. So one can interpret in that way also. But then Shankaracharya is interpreting in the sense that it is not referring to the Shuddha Brahma Vidya, it is referring to only Upasana. It has to be taken only at the Upasana level. But whereas some other people have interpreted it, because I said this Ishavasya Upanishad, many people have commented in several ways. So in a rather very, very contradicting manner also. Well, I have broadly followed what is told by Shankaracharya. So anyway, here Vidya Shabdena Paramatma Vidya Grahane Hiranmayena Ityadina Dwara Margadi Yachanam Anupapannam Syat. This Dwara Marga Yachanam. So what is he doing? So he is asking for so you lead us in the right path. Agneyanaya Supatharaye, O Agni, O fire, you are the carrier. Agni is the person who is the carrier of all our good deeds, and then he is the person who conveys it to the other gods. So you lead us in the Devayana path, you lead us in the right path. So that is what we have seen. So all these things will not be possible if we take the main meaning, if we take the primary meaning for Vidya. So that's what he is saying. If you take the primary meaning for Vidya, then what is discussed in this shloka, in this mantra, Hiranmayena Patrena, will not be possible. Because Shankaracharya says, in that Hiranmayena Patrena, he is only asking for that relative Amrutatvam and not that absolute Amrutatvam. And also the next mantras also are going to say that Marga Yachanam. Marga Yachanam means requesting for a proper route. You take us by a better route. Agneyanaya Supatha. Supatha means a better route. You take us on a better route, not on a bumpy road. You take us on a better road. So that is what he was asking. So this Marga Yachanam. Marga means the path. The Yachanam means requesting. Marga Yachanam means asking the Agni to take us on a right path, on a better path, let us say. So Margadi Yachanam Anupapannam Syat. So you cannot take the main meaning, you cannot take the primary meaning. So that's what he says. Tasmat Upasanaya Samuchayah Na Paramatma Vijnanena Yatha Asmabhi Vyakhyataha Vyakhyata Eva Mantranam Arthaha Ityuparamyate. Tasmad Upasanaya Samuchaya Na Paramatma Vijnanena. So that karma has to be, Samuchaya has to be there with say Upasana only. Karma and Upasana only can combine, because those two are at a different level. Those two belong to a different category. After all, Upasana also is a type of karma only. Upasana also, it is again Purusha Tantram. It depends on you whether you want to worship Vishnu, whether you want to worship Shiva, whether you want to worship some other religion, go to some other religion, it is your lookout. So karma and upasana are on a different footing, whereas jnana is on a different footing. Jnana, it is not Purusha Tantra, it is Vastu Tantra, where whatever is that absolute reality, nobody can change. Nobody can change that reality. I cannot say, no, I will not, I don't want this reality, I want another reality. There is no question of two realities. So that is it, that is the meaning here. So, Tasmad upasanaya samuchayah na paramatma vijnanena. Not with the absolute self. This samuchaya cannot be possible with the absolute reality. Samuchaya is possible only with what is this? Upasana. You worship any type of deity, that is again, that can be samuchaya, it can club with, you can club it with karma, you can club it with something else, but not with jnana. Then, only 5 minutes? Okay. Na paramatma vijnanena iti yatha asmabhihi vyakhyata eva mantranam arthaha iti uparamyate. So he says, so now it is being concluded. Iti uparamyate. He is saying in a passive voice, karmani prayogam. So now it is being concluded that with the words that whatever I have told is right. So he is saying it is being concluded by saying that my interpretation as given in the earlier mantras is the correct interpretation. So that is how he is closing the bhashyam. Iti Srimad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Sri Shankara Bhagavataha Krutau Ishavasya Upanishad Bhashyam Sampurnam. So that is where it is a thing. O Hari Om Tat Sat. So if we see in this 5 more minutes, so we'll just have a very brief roundup. So we have seen that in this, as we have seen in the very first class, the very purpose of an Upanishad is to, it makes a reference to all the things, that is Purusharthas. We know this Purusharthas, there are 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Dharma, Artha and Kama, that is called Trivarga. This Trivarga is dealt with in the first portion of the Veda, that is Karma Kanda. This 4th one, that is Moksha, it is otherwise called Apavarga. The first 3 are called Trivarga. This last one is called Apavarga or Moksha. This is dealt with by Upanishad. So this Upanishad, it mentions all these 3 things. Karma, Upasana, all these things it mentions. But it assigns their particular role. It says, okay, so far is karma, so far is upasana, and beyond this is jnana. So it says, okay, you are in the first class, you are in the second class, you are in the third class, etc. So it tells where a man is in that path of knowledge. So this is what we have seen. And then this Upanishad is another thing. The Upanishad, we have also seen that it has discussed in this very small Upanishad itself. We have seen the very first shloka, the very first mantra talked about enwrapping this whole universe with Ishvara Bhavana, that is Brahma Bhavana. Ishvara does not mean Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. We should not confuse with that. Ishvara means the supreme reality. Ishvara does not mean that Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. It is the supreme reality. So that means you have this world enwrapped with Brahmatma Bhavana. That is in the sake of a Jnani. The very first mantra talks about a Jnani who is in that state of Brahma consciousness. And in that state of Brahma consciousness, tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. Bhunjitaha does not mean you enjoy. With that sense of renunciation, you just maintain yourself, you conduct yourself. Palayethaha, bhunjitaha, palayethaha, that is the meaning given by Shankaracharya. Palayethaha means you conduct yourself in that manner. Then for those who cannot reach that level, the second mantra says, Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishes shatakam samaha. There in that, this Nishkama karma. This Nishkama karma has been advocated in that thing. So once you, if in case you are not able to attain that highest thing, you do this Nishkama karma, so that na karma lipyate nare. So you will not be tainted by the fruit of that karma, and there is a chance that you will get into the right path. Then the third mantra again said, Asuryanamate lokaha andhena tamasa vrutaha. For those people who do not do Nishkama karma, there are some demonical lokas. Asuryanamate lokaha, Asuryaha. Demonical lokas, they are there for those who only want to grab, only who want to do this Kamya karma. So this Upanishad is talking about Kamya karma, the Upanishad is talking about Nishkama karma, the Upanishad is talking about Jnana. Then subsequent shlokas, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., they talk about what exactly is that Atma Jnana, what exactly is that Atma. So that Tadejati, Tannaijati, Taddure, Tadvantike, we have seen all that, I need not explain all that. So that Supreme Brahman, which is all pervading and all that, all those things, that Brahma, the nature of Brahman is told in those lines. So thereafter, then it talked about this same controversial lines about the combination of this Vidya and Avidya. Then again this combination of this Vyakruta and Avyakruta Upasana. First it talked about the combination between Karma and Upasana. And again this the next type of set of combination is between two types of Upasanas. That is, one is a Vyakruta Upasana. Vyakruta Upasana is worshipping some deity form, a manifest deity form. And the other one is Avyakruta Upasana, that unmanifest Moola Prakriti, that state of Maya itself. So that is what we have seen. Then subsequently he was asking Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasyapi Hitam Mukham. So he is again a person, he is asking that sun god, oh sun god, this entire thing, all this glittering world is there, it is something like a golden lid which is concealing the truth. I am not able to get out of my ignorance. You please remove this golden lid. This golden lid is an ignorance itself. Golden lid, it is all this attractive glitter and glamour of the world. That is like a golden lid. You please remove that lid so that I can see. Then in the next mantra he says, oh yes, I have seen what is the truth. I am that. So this I am that, it is interpreted either as Brahmagyana or as Aditya, the knowledge of that particular deity. Then subsequently we have seen the Upanishad asking Agnenaya Supatharaye, you lead us on the right path and then you take us to through the Devayana. So this is what we have seen. So ultimately what we see in this Upanishad is, the Upanishad actually aims at transforming one's inner self. It is not some knowledge, some piece of knowledge which is mentally acquired. It is not something at the intellectual level. This is something which is supposed to transform a person internally. You are doing a karma, and then from that karma you graduate to upasana, and from these karma and upasana you again graduate to this Nirguna Brahma. This Nirguna Brahma is something which is going to break all the barriers, all the boundaries. Then the Upanishad also says you have to be a Sakshi. You have to get away. Even if you are doing some action, you be a witness to your action. You be a witness to your body-mind complex. You be a witness to whatever activities are undertaken by this body, mind, etc. So this is what we have seen. So this moksha is something which totally changes our own perception of the self. So that is what we have seen in the mantras. Pomohaha kashokaha shokatvam ekatvam anupashyataha. So for one who sees that eternal unity and then who enwraps the whole world with Ishvara Bhavana, who enwraps the whole world with that Brahma Bhavana, for him there is no question of any shoka or moha. So that is how this Upanishad concludes. Next class, most probably we will take up Kathopanishad along with the same Shankara Bhashyam. We will take up. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.